No, 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 no. Tom Bogert, you are not always right. You can be wrong sometimes. We're not getting rid of Tim Parker. No, no, no. Wrong. Yeah, man, I'm all ready to go to Omaha. I got my phone, got my keys in my hand, and viva boo! Oh, no. The Parker deal is official. No, I can't do a video right now. You're picking me up to go to Omaha. I mean, what's the point of anything? I'm gonna miss you, man. I'm gonna miss you, man. You brought so much fun to this city, man. I'm gonna miss you so much. I got a scarf with your face on it. It's time. When you think of St. Louis City's first season, you think of Tim Parker, the sturdy and fiery red-headed defender who appeared to get a new lease on his career in the Gateway City. Parker was an exuberant personality who served as the club's vice captain and quickly became a popular figure in the St. Louis soccer community. After all, when Tim Parker was having fun, so were St. Louis fans, and Lord knows we had some fun in that first season, didn't we? But that fun ran out along with the time left on his contract, and St. Louis has sent Parker to the Northeast. While this news was a bit surprising to most fans, it wasn't entirely unexpected given his age and his contract situation, but fans who had gravitated toward Parker were left saddened nonetheless. Yes, I'm still wearing the scarf. This video is to take a quick look back at Parker's time in St. Louis, but mostly highlighting the player that is coming to the Gateway City, Henry Kessler from New England Revolution, who is not just a younger like-for-like swap with Parker, but he also might offer something that St. Louis hasn't really had since Jared Stroud. And while I can provide context on Parker, I needed some help to get some context on Kessler, so I enlisted the help of Blazing Muskets site manager Sam Minton to tell us more about St. Louis's new defender. And I'm enlisting your help right now by clicking a couple buttons, like, subscribe. There. That was easy. Before we can talk about who's coming to St. Louis, we have to talk about the player going out. Tim Parker arrived in St. Louis the day of the expansion draft in 2022 in a trade with Houston Dynamo. Houston received $500,000 in GAM, with Houston paying the tab on a significant portion of Parker's salary as well for 2023 and 2024. The veteran Long Island native started his MLS career in Vancouver after being drafted 13th overall by the Whitecaps in 2015. He played 76 games there over the span of 3 seasons, then was traded in 2018 closer to his hometown when he went to the New England Red Bulls. He'd play 79 games there through the 2020 season, and he'd also make 2 appearances for the U.S. men's national team during this stretch. Parker would be traded a second time in 2021 to Houston, who effectively made him their captain and hoped he would lead the team to a potential MLS hardware. But Houston finished last in the Western Conference in 2021, and whether or not Parker was to blame for any of that, his high salary made him movable once again after a similarly disappointing 2022 season. And that's how he ended up in St. Louis, who was looking for a veteran leader on their back line. And Parker would have something of a career renaissance in 2023. As vice captain, he played 28 matches and used his aerial ability to score 4 goals, including the first in franchise history, while also being the undisputed leader on the back line. He was a popular personality both among the fans as well as the locker room. Simon Betcher, who wasn't even in St. Louis a month before Parker was moved, was asked recently about the Parker trade, and he said, quote, "You can judge a lot on how everyone in the room reacts to a move like that, and you can tell everyone is going to miss him a lot," end quote. So if you're a New England Revolution fan watching this, here's what you're getting with Parker. A team leader who is great in the air. He has almost a sixth sense in making interceptions, though he can get burned at times by missing them. Unafraid to block shots, and he's also unafraid to get physical and can generally progress the ball off the back line, though I wouldn't call him exactly a fancy-footed. We loved him here in St. Louis. He will forever be a legend here in St. Louis for his contributions on and off the field, and whether he stays in New England after the season or not, he will make a positive impact on the field for the Revs as well as in the locker room. So why is St. Louis moving him out? Well, he'll be 32 at the start of next season, and as sporting director Lutz Pfannenstiel explained on KMOX, the two sides were far apart when it came to his next contract.
You need to look at contracts, you need to look at developments and negotiations, and it was tough from the emotional part, but if you're looking at everything, I think Tim with only 6 months left on the contract, and we just simply could not find an agreement on the contract terms. Having the option to bring in Henry Kessler, which is a young centre-back who played for the United States before, which has high potential, and he has a much longer contract. It was one of the things we have to look at all the good and the bad, and the decision was made that we let Tim Parker go without taking anything away from him what he did for the club.
So one era ends and another potentially begins with the acquisition of Henry Kessler.
Besides being a physical defender who isn't afraid to get in an opponent's face.
Sound familiar?
He also is someone who can be a threat in the air off of set pieces to score goals. Overall, he seemed to really improve his ability on the ball, especially under Caleb Porter. He still has the ability to launch balls forward, but still, it's an area of his game that he needs improvement on. But overall, he's someone who can win the ball, who can win those key moments, those key tackles, and really be a player that is able to make important plays.
And that tracks if you look at the FB Charts graph comparing Parker and Kessler. The two really seem similar, with a few exceptions. Parker was more effective in the air and sniffing out interceptions. Kessler was better at passing and handling the ball, but generally very similar players. We'll talk about the other side of that graph, though, in just a little bit. Like Parker, Kessler also passed through the New York Red Bulls. He played in the Red Bulls Academy before joining the University of Virginia, actually passing on Harvard University to do so. Yet another St. Louis City player that passed on the Ivy League, like Simon Betcher. He'd go on to play 52 games in 3 seasons with the Cavaliers and showed a lot of promise, enough for him to go pro after his junior year and sign an MLS Generation Adidas contract. Kessler went 6th overall in the 2020 Super Draft to the New England Revolution, where he would play his entire MLS career up until this point. He has scored a goal in each of his prior 4 seasons in New England while playing regular minutes. He also would get the call to the U.S. men's national team under 23s in early 2021. He was previously eligible for the Irish national team as his mother was an Irish citizen, but it would be the U.S. that would give him an opportunity not just in the under 23s, but also on the big roster, as he'd replace Walker Zimmerman in the 2021 Gold Cup and made his senior debut in the Gold Cup final win over Mexico. But there was one play in particular that made him a legend in New England, and as Sam points out, Kessler's reputation precedes him a bit on this particular play.
Now, you've heard that Henry Kessler is in the shithouse grade. That's very true, very true. The most famous moment has to be when the Revolution were down in Philadelphia. They were looking to close out a game. Basically, ball goes out of bounds, kicks it, into the stand, then grabs the ball off one of the stands, just absolutely launches it. It was a great moment, definitely a moment that cemented him in the hearts of Revolution fans. But he's definitely someone who isn't afraid to get in opponents' faces. You'll probably see him shoving players or, yapping with players on the sideline.
So Kessler's career appears to be getting off to a great start, but there's a feeling in New England that Kessler's development stalled, and Sam explains why Revs fans felt it might have been time for him to move on.
It just overall just seems, whether it be the inclusion of Dave Romney or just kind of operating in a new system, just didn't adjust well. Obviously, I think his ability on the ball is something that needs the most improvement, and just overall decision making, which does come with just being professional. If you're able to continue to get minutes, that will obviously help your development. But I do think a new atmosphere was needed, a new team was needed, and I think his development could continue to grow. And I think, especially looking at this deal, there's more upside on Kessler. He still has lots of time to grow as a player.
And I did ask Sam if there was one thing in particular that might drive St. Louis fans crazy when it comes to Henry Kessler, and Sam responded with something that Tim Parker's detractors would find awfully familiar.
Kessler will drive St. Louis fans insane because he might make stupid decisions. those crucial moments. Revolution fans will always remember him shoving that player in the back. Will be one of the lasting images that they have of Henry Kessler. Sadly, he basically cost the Revolution 3 points by shoving a player in the back and drawing a penalty.
So sometimes Kessler likes to stir it up, get in opponents' faces, play hard, and sometimes gets a little hot under the collar. Does that remind you of anyone St. Louis? And like Scary Jerry Stroud himself, Kessler also had his share of fans and detractors in New England too.
It's really a mixed bag. There's definitely some fans who are pretty upset about it. He's a young defender, still has room to grow, and now he's going off to St. Louis, and in return, got Tim Parker, who seems like a veteran presence, but obviously is closer to the tail end of his career compared to Henry Kessler. Me personally, if you're asking me, I think being able to get rid of his contract is very valuable and helps the team in the future. Obviously, in the long term, it could prove to be a terrible move. Henry Kessler could develop to be a top center back in MLS, but as it is right now, he isn't a top center back in MLS, and especially with the amount of money he was making, it just didn't add up. It'll be interesting to see how he performs in St. Louis, and it seems like you guys love getting former Revolution center backs, whether it be Kessler, John Bell, so we'll have to keep an eye out on you guys.
So we've discovered some parallels between Kessler and Parker, and Kessler and Stroud even, but how does he actually fit into the St. Louis City squad? Here's the charts from earlier comparing him to Parker, as well as his new center back tandem mate, Joakim Nilsson. We talked about the Parker one earlier and how similar they are, but look at the one for Nilsson. The data shows areas where Nilsson is deficient, but Kessler excels in: passing, carrying the ball, and taking on defenders. And areas where Kessler is deficient are areas that Nilsson excels in: interceptions, clearances, and tackling. So Kessler does appear to be a fit in multiple areas. He complements Nilsson well while filling a lot of the holes that Parker left behind. He's still young at age 26. Parker is still effective at age 31, so imagine Kessler being effective for another 5 years plus. Now, of course, that does depend if Kessler does avoid the injury bug. For instance, he did miss 4 months with a hamstring injury last season. He's also under team control for 2 years, as he does have a team option for 2026. So he gives Lutz and company some certainty at the position. And he's an agitator, which is something that Jared Stroud excelled in. And this is a club that definitely does appreciate a good shithouser or two. For instance, I think he'll get along great with Chris Durkin. And of course, this is to take nothing away from Tim Parker's time in St. Louis. He'll forever be a bright spot in the blazing lights of that magical season. It's just one of those situations, though, where it's time for the team and the player to move on.
Everybody said to see Tim leaving. He was great for us, as you said. He scored the first goal. He scored the first goal in the playoffs. He was a leader on and off the pitch, and I can't really personally as well, but also from the club, can't really thank him enough for everything he has done for the club. But then that's also part of the professional sports business, that you have to let people go who are brilliant. You have to let people go who played a big part in the short history now, in this case in our club. And it was definitely very emotional for everybody.
Is it hard or is it easy for you to put the emotion to the side and just make moves based off what you think is best for the club?
No, I'm not a robot. Even though I'm German, I'm still a human being.
In the end, I think this is a good move for all involved. The Revs aren't going anywhere anytime soon, so they get future cap space and $600,000 in GAM to play with. St. Louis wasn't going to bring back Parker after this season, and they get a long-term solution in his space. In fact, in that KMOX interview, Lutz stated that he actually has had his eyes on Kessler all the way back to when Lutz joined St. Louis in 2020, so maybe it just was meant to be. A big thank you to Sam Minton of the Blazing Musket for the context about Kessler and how the trade affects the Revs. They cover soccer across New England, across multiple levels, and are a good source of news and analysis from the region. You can also find the Blazing Musket and Sam Minton both on Twitter. And feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, or if you really enjoyed it, join these fine folks in my 99-cent supporter section. I like to go on the road and vlog away days so you don't have to make the journey yourself. Or if you're thinking of making the journey, maybe you'll find my videos helpful. After all, if you can't trust a chubby YouTuber scouting a place for you, who can you trust? This is your soccer zombie, Tom Franklin, and if you want to know who Kessler might be competing for playing time against going forward, you can check out this video on an Aussie signing this offseason that St. Louis made. Jake Gerwood-Reich is intriguing, but can he make the Kessler run in less than 12 parsecs? A bad joke, that was.